Hello and welcome to the channel. This is my 2013 filthy Honda NT700V Deauville, and today I'm going to be giving you a review of it. So how have I ended up with a Deauville? I commute about 250 miles a week into work, and my work is in central London. I was using a CBR 650R with the E-clutch. It's a great bike for that commute. You get a fair bit of wind protection from it, plus also with the E-clutch it's brilliant in town and it's a nice narrow bike. However, the company I work for, their current building has secure parking. They're moving to a new building where I'll have to park on the street, and to be frank, I thought the CBR 650R would get stolen if I just left it out on the street regularly. So hence I looked for a bike that would be good for the commute, would do the sort of mileages I'm going to do, but would also be less likely to be stolen. My brother has a 2006 version of this bike. I know it's very suitable for commuting, and the Deauville has a reputation for not being the most thrilling, interesting bike in the world, and therefore not the most stealable bike. I've had the bike a little while. I've now covered 4,600 miles on it, so I thought I was about at a point where I can give a fairly good commentary of what it's like. So let's talk a little bit about the history and spec of this bike. It was brought out in 2006. It replaces the NT700V. It has a 680cc V-twin engine, which produces 65 brake horsepower and about 66 Newton meters of torque. It has a very similar configuration to the bike it replaced. You have integrated panniers, shaft drive, and it's a touring looking bike. When the bike was originally launched in 2006, it was manufactured in Spain. In 2008, it became Euro 3 compliant. And then in 2010, manufacturing was moved to Italy, and at the same time there were some minor changes made to the bike. Cosmetic changes like the colour of the rear light and the slight shape of the rear of the bike, and the screen was changed so that you have 5-point adjustment rather than 3. Having said that though, which bike you choose out of the model and year is very much dependent on your preferences. For most people, the changes to the screen made very little difference to the wind protection, and for the rear changes to the lighting, it's purely a matter of preference. On the US market, the bike was known as the NT700V. It didn't carry the Deauville name. Option wise, you had things like heated grips, the top box. Also, interestingly enough, it comes with a combined braking system, but only some of the bikes had ABS. Generally in the early years, ABS was an option, but by the later years it was a standard fit in most markets. So after 4,500 miles, what can I tell you about the bike? Comfort wise, it's extremely comfortable. This is one of the best seats you'll find on a bike. Not only that, the overall wind protection is really good. Behind me is my RT, which I use on long trips on holiday. This is not very far behind. For the difference in cost when new, it's incredibly close. And it certainly is a bike you could use for very long tours. Handling wise, it handles very well. It's a nice, light, nimble bike. It's a lot of fun to ride. Braking wise, you have at the front dual 296mm discs, and at the rear one 276mm discs. It also has a combined braking system, and what this means is that when you press the rear brake, the front brake also slightly comes on. Essentially, one pot of the 4 pots on the front brake calipers come on, so one disc is working at half power. Generally speaking, as far as pulling the bike up and feel, the brakes are extremely good. They offer a powerful setup with a fair bit of feel. The combined braking system I'm not so sure of. It's a kind of love it or loathe it system. Personally, I'm not very keen on it. My brother, who has a 2006 bike with the same system, really loves it. The reason I'm not keen on it is this. I quite often use my brake when I'm slow speed manoeuvring, and sometimes even if I go a bit too hot into a corner, I want to slow the bike down a little bit. The problem is with this thing, because it's putting on a quarter of the front braking power, the front of the bike will dip, and that's the last thing you want to do, realistically speaking, when you're on very slow speed manoeuvring, or if you're adjusting your speed because you've gone into a corner too fast. Because essentially any braking at the front is going to unsettle the bike. The flip side to this is that it does give you the ability to essentially ride it with one foot rather than having to use a front brake at all if you want to. The engine, as mentioned, is a 680cc V-twin. It's free revving, it's quite frugal, and it's actually quite a lot of fun. Yes, you don't have enormous amount of power, but you don't always need enormous amount of power to have fun. On top of that, these engines are renowned for being bulletproof. In actual fact, pretty much the whole bike is renowned for being bulletproof when it comes to mechanically. The gearbox is a 5-speed gearbox. It's got fairly long gearing, which is understandable with just 5 gears. It doesn't get in the way of having fun with the bike. Sometimes, for me, as I ride a lot of 6-speed bikes, I do feel like I'm trying to push it up into a 6th gear, but it will still cruise on the motorway at reasonably low revs at 70-75 miles an hour. Going further down the drivetrain, you then have the shaft drive, which is a great feature if you're doing an awful lot of commuting or high mileage on a bike. It does lend a slightly more agricultural feel to the bike to a chain drive or a belt drive, and also allegedly sups a bit of power, but in real terms, if you're doing any sort of mileage on the bike, it's quite an advantage. Gauge-wise, it's pretty basic. You do have your computer there, which will tell you the mileage and the time, and then if you select your button, you can also go through your trips and your fuel economy, but that is about that. The other thing it doesn't have that most modern bikes have is a gear selection indicator, which if you're used to having one is a bit off-putting to start off with, but to be honest, you get used to it very quickly. Coming back slightly, you then have these two cubby holes. So you've got an unlockable one on that side and a lockable one on the other side. The integrated panniers are a nice feature, but also a bit of a curse. They're a nice feature in that you get storage on the bike regardless. They've got an interesting design inside, which I'll show you in a second. The not so nice thing is that they're a bit on the fragile side. I'll put a link above, and I've done various videos about the changes I've made to the bike. So on this bike, these catches are not standard. Surprise, surprise. They come off a Jeep, and I've had to put them on because of the various problems I've had with the pannier locking mechanism. Now that I sorted that out, it's great, but it's something to be very aware of, and I'd suggest you watch that video if you're thinking about buying one. There are two types of panniers. You either have these panniers, which are the standard panniers, or you can get some wider panniers. The wider panniers do make a little bit of difference to the width of the bike, so do inhibit slightly as far as filtering is concerned. And this bike is actually extremely good at filtering. You'd think it would be quite big, but it's not. But they do give you that extra room if you want to go for a tour. To open, all you do is turn the key, pull the catch, and that's your panniers open. And you can see there that they actually link together, so you can get some quite big things through that little gap there. And they do hold a reasonable amount. Other funny things, the mirrors are some of the best mirrors I've ever come across. Really brilliant mirrors. Plus, you'd think it being a touring bike with the size of it, it would be difficult to filter it. It's not, it's actually surprisingly narrow and goes through gaps surprisingly well, even with the fact it's got the panniers on the back. Other good points are it's a really cheap bike to own. They'll vary from about £500 to £4,000, and because it's so reliable, all they need is a bit of servicing and they can get quite galactic miles. And £2,000 will get you a really decent working Euro 3 compliant 2008 onwards bike. And that represents very good value for a bike which, if you buy it with 50,000 miles on the clock, should last you another 70,000 if you want it to. Insurance remains cheap, general servicing costs are cheap, so all in, it's a very good value bike to own. On the disadvantages, there's not a huge amount I'm not very happy with about the bike. I really am not very keen with the combined braking system, as I mentioned before. I get the idea, but to be quite honest, the last thing I really want is my front brake coming on when I press my rear brake. The lighting is a little bit poor at the front of the bike. I've fitted these spotlights, which make a lot of difference to that and make you a lot more obvious. And I must admit, I would prefer a 6-speed gearbox, but at this price range, I really am scraping the barrel about that. The other thing that has been a shame is quite how fragile and problematic the rear panniers were. Now that I've got a solution, I'm quite happy with that, but you have to be fairly good at DIY to get that working. Overall, after 4,500 miles, I certainly don't regret buying it. It provides a level of comfort I wasn't particularly expecting. It's reasonably frugal, and on top of that, it actually provides a level of fun that I wasn't expecting of the bike. It is a good fun bike to ride as long as you don't expect endless power. And so would I recommend it? Pretty much to almost anyone, yes, I would do. Just make sure you check out that the panniers haven't been broken at all and watch my video about that first. So that's the end of the video for this bike. I hope you found it useful and informative. There's loads of other videos about this bike and also loads of other bikes, from the BMW GS to this RT to all the other bikes I've owned and borrowed. Plus also a whole lot of videos about accessories, holidays, things like that. So why not subscribe to the channel? Regardless of whether you do or not, thank you very much for watching and I hope to see you again.
Who jammer flip?
Who jammer flip?